Welcome to the Be Still, Be Aware series, where nothing is off limits. I'm your host, Claire Foord. Let's talk. Hi there. Thanks for joining us for the Be Still, Be Aware series. Today, I am joined by Jamie Logan. She is a mother, a midwife, and the owner of Bump and Mind Hypnobirthing. We are going to be talking about all things calm birth and hypnobirthing, how to connect with your body and your baby in pregnancy, and use some of the tools for self-hypnosis in pregnancy and through your birthing experience. An added bonus is there's also a little takeaway. We are going to have a guided meditation to be able to bring you into that self-hypnosis space, to use it to be able to stop, connect, and regroup in your pregnancy on a daily basis. So, thanks for joining us, and let's talk.
Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this series is recorded and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging.
Hi, I'm Claire Foord, the host of the Be Still, Be Aware series. Thanks for joining us today. And I have got a very special guest with us, Jamie Logan, who is a midwife, a mother, and a hypnotherapist. So we're going to learn a lot today, so let's talk. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming along.
Thank you so much for having me.
And congratulations on number 3.
Number 3, yeah. We're crazy.
Super exciting.
Did it again.
That's a good thing though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, life balance is probably a little bit out of kilter right now, you know, running your own business, a midwife, and a mother of 2 little ones now and a 3rd one coming along. Yeah. You know, you like
Life's
just the
busy.
easy life.
Why would you make it quiet and...
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's good.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, start wherever you like. Tell us your story, you know. Do you want to talk about your kids? Do you want to talk about your practice? I know that there's a lot of different things that you do. So, yeah, take us through wherever you want to start.
I think my family defines me, so I'd love to start with them.
Of course.
I've got 2 little kids, Cleo and Sid, 2 and 4, and another one soon, and my husband Tom. Yeah, it's just our little gang. Really great. I've got wonderful family supports around me, really close in-laws and my parents.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think...
Having a tribe is so important.
It is.
Right?
You need a village.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah, and I think it makes things, just in everything, I think, you know, and that's where it's so important to involve your tribe, your village in the care of your kids, but early on, right? And so I think, you know, that's where I suppose hypnobirthing is really a lot about that, you know, connecting with your baby, but, you know, probably allowing others to understand that connection too prior to delivery, right?
Yeah. And I think, like, part of a successful labour comes from that beginning bit when you are pregnant and you do have those supports in place. That doesn't necessarily mean those people have to be with you in labour. You don't need to have your in-laws and your parents and your sister, but...
If you want.
Well, yeah, do whatever
and you're allowed.
Your heart feels, but yeah, if it wasn't COVID, a COVID life. But I think having those people in your life early on and, you know, bonding with your baby still inside is a really great, you know, great process for that baby to be welcome to this world. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where, you know, there's so many synergies, obviously in midwifery, and in parenting, you know, and obviously pregnancy, very, very, you know, crucial. But so tell me, did you always want to be a midwife? Did you know that was a path you were going to take?
I didn't even really know it was a job.
Yeah, wow.
I started nursing. My sister didn't do a great degree. She just went off to uni because that's what you do. Yes. And said, don't make my mistake. Don't come away with an expensive debt and nothing to show and don't have a job. And so I thought, oh yeah, nursing's all right. I'll do that. I'll get a job. And then first year into nursing, I thought, oh, this is not really what I signed up for. I loved the caring aspect because I feel like that's part of me. I am a bit of a nurturer. I want to make sure everyone's okay. Yeah. You know, I take on far too many things because I want to make sure, you know, everyone's all right in my life. And so I really loved that aspect of it, but I just didn't love the sickness part of it. And I thought, oh, it's got to be something else, and I can't waste what I've just done. Yeah. I thought, oh yeah, midwifery. I like babies. Yeah. That'll be fun. And little did I know, it's a lot more than just babies. Yes. but yeah, that's what got me into it. And 12 years later, I'm still there. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's obviously got my soul somehow, sucked me in and kept me.
Well, it's a beautiful part of, you know, of being involved in somebody's pregnancy.
It is.
And helping them to, you know, create a family, regardless of the outcome. I think that, you know, that's the really hard part, right? Is that not all pregnancies
are amazing, you know, and wonderful and fabulous, and
and there are tough pregnancies, because everybody, every baby, every pregnancy is different, right? So, you know, having somebody nurturing you and walking alongside you together with your tribe is really important. So that's obviously what a midwife can be and does. You know, it's a beautiful gift to women who are pregnant, but also what a wonderful thing to share, I think. You know, is there... can you take us through sort of that journey, like what it is to be a midwife and to be, you know, supporting someone through pregnancy? Yeah,
so I think you ask any woman, whether they are 21 and they've just had a baby, or they're 91 and they, you know, are great-great-grandma, and they will remember their birth. They will remember how they were made to feel. They will remember details that they won't remember about anything else in their life. So I think that moment that you get to spend with someone, and my moment only might be an hour, and it might be a 10-hour shift, but it really impacts on how these women walk away from their birth for the rest of their life. And I think that's where I try to take my piece from the most, that whether it's an amazing outcome and they get their baby and they had a beautiful birth and everything went to plan and nothing was crazy, they got their baby, beautiful. Or they had a horrific experience that either ended in a happy, healthy baby or not. They didn't get to take their baby home, or it was a really traumatic experience that they still felt like they had someone there that cared, that someone was a part of it, and not necessarily that they remember me, I don't care about that, but that they felt really, I guess it's hard when you have great experiences and bad experiences, but that they still remember that time in their life that was really special.
Where they're not alone, they're supported.
So I'm a midwife in a labour ward. I don't really get that continuity because I see women for maybe 8-hour shift and then I never see her again. I might run into her somewhere randomly, or, you know, at what Adelaide's
so
like.
So interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. But you do, in that moment, you become their person, right? And
such an intimate moment, and you know, so much love in that room. I mean, you would experience all sorts of things in that space. And I suppose, you know, being that ear and listening is really critical, right? And to be that support person to help women and partner, or, you know, family member, or whoever it is, that support person there with them as well, to feel heard and to feel connected with for the moment that you have with them, whether it lasts hours and hours and hours, or whether it lasts moments and just minutes, because that's the other thing too.
Babies do what they want. They come quickly. And
so I think that's, you know, important, I suppose, to share as well, is that we know everybody's pregnancy is different, and also everybody's delivery as well, right?
Absolutely.
So how can we help, I suppose, the clinician, you know, so the midwife, the obstetrician, the care provider in the room, and the mother and, you know, partner, family, to connect in these times when something doesn't quite go right. You know, talk about that traumatic event. You know, everyone goes in thinking, right, I'm going to have this fabulous, you know, vaginal delivery, and everything's going to be calm and, you know, cool and collected. But not everything always goes to plan. And also this terminology, the reason I say vaginal delivery is because I think we place so much emphasis on this natural birth scenario, which I think is terribly important. But your natural birthing process might be very different to somebody else's. So this level of guilt, and I know I've seen it a lot in, you know, women and friends and family and you know, and people I come across through Still Aware, but who have this level of guilt of, I failed, my body failed me, for whatever their outcome might be. And I'm talking from, it might be somebody who has had a stillbirth, or somebody who's had what they consider not to be their perfect delivery because they needed to have an epidural, or they tore, or they ended up labouring too long and then having to have an emergency caesarean section. What can we do to help, I suppose, have that conversation around informed discussion and informed choice with lifting that guilt and that blame? I mean, it's a big question, but do you have any tips of how we can, approach this from a care provider perspective, and also a woman's perspective, your perspective as a mum and also as a medical professional? Yeah,
I think you're right. Lots of the terminology we use is unfortunate. Women have caesareans because they failed to progress.
Yeah,
and
it's awful
that's
terminology.
Nothing that they could do.
Yeah.
That's just what we call it.
Yeah.
And, they get that label and that's really horrible.
Yeah.
And you're right. People go into their labour, of course, thinking, I'm going to have my vaginal delivery.
Yes.
And I don't need pain relief and I'm just going to do it and it's going to be fine, it's going to be great. And I think that expectation and reality are two completely different things. I think the best thing is to be empowered in your pregnancy.
Yeah.
And how you see that is, up to you. How you prepare for that birth is up to you.
Yeah.
But know your options.
Yes.
Know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Know that you can't control everything.
Yeah.
That actually sometimes babies and your body just don't work together, and that's got nothing to do with the way you prepared.
Yes.
But when you make that kind of mental, I'm going to do this way, and when it doesn't go that way, then that's super disappointing.
Yeah.
And then you think, I failed.
Yes.
I didn't do it right. I didn't get the birth I wanted.
Yeah.
And that's that really sad bit, that birth will stay with you forever because it's not how you thought it would go, or it's not how you planned it to go. So I think knowing how birth works, use your 9 months to, make a beautiful nursery and, buy all those clothes and do all that, wonderful nesting stuff and preparation that makes birth really exciting and having a baby really exciting. But also use that time to be really educated and,
100%.
do things like still aware, like know about your baby's movements, be educated in that aspect, but don't walk into a hospital not knowing what their processes are and how, little things like the pain relief that they offer. And once you choose one of those options, then what happens? You've got so much time and resources. I feel like the internet can be really great, can be horrible as well. But
yes.
it
Dr. Google.
Exactly. It can provide you with like some amazing tools, some amazing tips. And if you're not happy with what you find, keep looking. There's so many websites now that talk about birth, that do evidence-based research, that have research articles waiting for you to read them. Lots of database reviews that anyone can go on and say, what do you think about an epidural? And it tells you exactly what the outcomes are. It's not someone's opinion, it's actual research that says this is what happens when you have an epidural. This is your likelihood of having an assisted delivery after an epidural. These are the facts and this is the numbers, and if that's the information you want to know, then it's there to be found.
And it is always there. And I think it's, and it's also about having that conversation, right? And what I'm also hearing you say as well is about, you be informed and as informed as you want, and that you have a choice in that. So I think, you've said you can't always plan, for what you want, and you can't actually in parenthood anyway. So let that start early. I think having that information there, and, we don't just have to seek it out ourselves. That communication with you as well as the care provider is really important, with your network and with your obstetrician or with your, doula, whoever it is that is you're choosing to be that person to support you, you have an opportunity to have an open conversation and to really understand. And I think there is a lot we can do to plan what our pregnancy would be like too, that I think we do. Do you think we focus too much, or we focus so heavily on the moment of delivery? But I'm hearing you say there's actually a lot we can learn in the process of 9 months of pregnancy, of getting to know our little one, through doing different things. And I suppose it's disappointing that those conversations don't happen a lot.
Yeah.
It's more about, okay, well, right, so this is the delivery suite, this is where this is going to happen, and I'm coming for your antenatal class, and we'll see you when you deliver. You know, I'm making it sound very simplistic, but sometimes we do make it too simple.
Sometimes that's what happens, and you can't rely on your care provider to give you all that information.
Yeah.
You know, you need to seek it out yourself.
So being empowered and informed, and knowing that you're allowed to ask the questions is really important. And I suppose that's where the hypnotherapy and hypnobirthing is probably really good to talk about, because that's very much around connecting with you and connecting with your baby and really being in tune with your body, right?
Yeah.
So talk us about your journey to that. What made you interested? Because you said you've been a midwife for quite some time, and didn't fall into it, but actually fell in love with it.
Yes.
And then you also have fallen in love with another form of helping women in pregnancy, which is through hypnotherapy.
So one of the anaesthetists at our hospital, surprisingly, was at the time the president of the South Australian Hypnosis Society.
Wow.
And he is amazing. The way he speaks to anyone, but what I found, the way he speaks to women, just the language he uses when someone is really distressed, right?
Yeah.
He's coming in at a time when she's lost all control, doesn't want anyone but an anaesthetist who's about to put an epidural in.
Yeah, wow.
So he is a really valuable person in a delivery room when he's needed. And he comes in, and the way he speaks to these women, I just thought, wow, that's, just the simple language and eliminating some words just made it a calming space.
Interesting.
And I thought, I want to learn what he's done.
Yes.
So I did a diploma in hypnotherapy with the society, and I think maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. I'm not sure. And from that I thought, actually, I can teach women. I could do this to make a change.
Yes.
And so I started my little side hustle, Bump and Mind Childbirth Hypnosis, where I teach women hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
So I perform hypnotherapy on them, and then I provide them with tools to perform their own self-hypnosis. But also part of hypnotherapy, the session involves not only teaching them how to get to a really nice space in labour, but also me just talking to them changes, part of hypnotherapy is just changing your mindset. Yeah. So I want women to be able to use these tools, whether they come in and they have a beautiful delivery that, they come in at 7 centimetres and they're labouring amazing because they've just laboured at home, and then they just get to the hospital and they have their baby and it's perfect.
And that's what we think happens happens in all the movies and the textbooks.
And very small time it does happen.
But I think that's really important. You just said it then. It's a very small time that happens. That's actually more rare than normal or more rare than common. And I think we need to all be aware of that whatever perfection is for someone may be very different for another. And not everybody can just do that. And that's okay.
Yes, it is fine.
Yeah.
And so what I want to teach women as well is that if something goes outside of their dream, their goal, their desires, that they can still say to themselves, actually, I'm fine. This is still my birth of my baby. This is still my day and our day, and I'm going to make the most of this experience, whether I'm wheeled off for an emergency cesarean and it's far from what I wanted, or if my baby's taken to a special care nursery, I can still keep calm because I can still enjoy this experience. So I think that is what I want women to get out of most. Not that they don't have an epidural or, that they will labour and at home and then they'll have a beautiful birth. That's not what I teach to have a desired outcome. I think that I want women to be excited about their birth. I want them to walk away feeling that they are so empowered and that they really enjoyed that day that was the toughest day of their life, right? So I think that's what I want their main goal to be, leaving me and my preparation with them.
And it can happen not only, so there's obviously different levels of so that's obviously the hypnotherapy, using that self-hypnosis for pain relief,
as
well of being able to give them that, centering and that ability to find that calm space, I think is what you said, in
some chaos.
Yeah, some chaos, where you're, and helping your pain threshold. But I'm curious to know about, some of the things you do in, early pregnancy too, because I know that this is something that people can do throughout pregnancy. It doesn't just have to be around just the delivery. And I think that that's also really important for families to understand that, if they're expecting, so those that are listening or watching this can say, okay, well, if I go to Bump and Mind, I can also do some of these other programs too. And they're actually going to help me, like the still aware information of connecting with my baby, but to understand my body and prepare me for my pregnancy and to have this calm space of connection. So, because I think a lot of people focus on that delivery space, right? So what else can we do? When can we start using this? Can we use, some of these techniques early on, or do we? Does it happen in the middle, of pregnancy? What do you recommend?
So if I'm doing someone who wants to prepare for labour, then I like to do it kind of from about 30 weeks. So that those tips are still really relevant. But I see women early in pregnancy because hypnotherapy is a great tool for life. It is been used for centuries. It is really a lovely experience at changing your mindset regardless of what your problem is. So if you have had a really traumatic experience, and it might be a stillbirth and it might not be a stillbirth, but you have had that, and that is still a part of you, of course, forever, but you now are pregnant again and you think, I can't do this again. I can't wait for 40 weeks. I can't stop thinking about my baby and my previous baby, my other children. How am I going to get through the next 10 months? So hypnotherapy is brilliant at calming the mind then. At providing you with tools to kind of ease your anxiety. And I think not forgetting that baby and not forgetting that experience, because that's something that you need to keep in you forever, right? But I think part of that is this is a new baby and this is a different experience and recognising that. And so there's definitely ways you can use hypnotherapy for that. But I talk about lots of things with my practice, and it is about, using acupuncture, using yoga, using exercise, all of these amazing things that can be free, can be, you don't have to spend a lot of money to prepare for labour. But if it's something early that you need to focus on to get you through to that next mark of, you might be your 12-week scan, or it might be your morphology at 20 weeks, or it might be those first movements that you're really desperate to feel, then I think there's so much out there that you can use to get you through to those different...
And to learn to connect, I think, that's what we want everybody to be able to get to know who their baby is, so that they can know how baby is. But I think in doing that, you also have to get to know who you are, to get to know how you are too. And sometimes it's very hard in the chaos of life, regardless of the scenario, whether you're in the amidst a pandemic, or whether you're amidst insurmountable grief, or have dealt with a huge amount of trauma, or just the everyday hustle and bustle of life, to be able to know that it's important to stop and to take a moment to breathe and to centre yourself. And it's not selfish to do so. It's actually really integrally important.
And healthy for
your
body.
Healthy for your body, your baby, and your mindset. I think, to be able to do that in pregnancy and to learn that early on can also help with these critical things that we need to do to help keep us and our babies safe in pregnancy. So, I'm curious about this. So let's think. I'd love to know what some of your top tips for. You don't have to give everything away.
No.
But if we wanted to find a space of mindfulness, of being able to just find that clarity and that breath, for a moment, and it doesn't have to be a long moment, but how would we go about that? What would be something that you would take a woman or a partner and their partner through to understand that quiet, to find that quiet so that you can connect and really listen to what your body and your baby are doing?
So meditation, right, would be the number one kind of tool.
Yes.
But that is really hard. It's really hard. It's a hard thing to just be with your own mind.
Yes.
And hypnosis is just guided meditation.
Yeah.
So it's just me telling you what to think.
Yeah.
So I think practicing your own meditation, it would be the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
Sit in a really calming space.
Yes.
Don't lay in bed, you'll probably fall asleep.
Yeah.
So sit up in a couch that you're nice and supported.
Yeah.
Have it quiet. Don't do it when the TV's on and your children are eating dinner, or your family is coming through the house, and try and find a time when it's just you and your baby.
Yeah.
Or your partner as well.
Yeah.
Where you are actively focusing on each other.
Yes.
Just you and your baby.
Yeah.
And keep it dim lighting.
Yeah.
That's a really nice thing. Sometimes music is really helpful because it allows you to kind of focus on something that's not.
And we're talking like nice
thoughts.
calming music.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
And that's, Google, find some meditation music and put it on. With hypnotherapy, I don't use any other sounds.
Yeah.
It's just my voice.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it by yourself, if you need something like that. And I think really consciously thinking about your baby. Yeah. About not even labour, not even how you're going to do anything special, but just you and your baby together. And if thoughts creep in, let them go. Maybe think about a really nice space. So I often get women to think about a space that's like safe and secure, that they might know of already in their head, or they might make up a space. But find somewhere like that and take yourself there and think about all the little things that you would notice in a space anyway. And then that's where I think you can be really calm, because suddenly you've got a focus point and you're not thinking about other traumatic experiences or what might happen when, essentially nothing has happened, but that it's just you and your baby. And you're not preparing for labour, you're not doing anything, but you're just being really nice and calm. Deep breaths is beautiful. And something in labour women often do is hold their breath. And when you're in pain, you do. You have a big breath in and you hold it and you tense. That's probably the worst thing you can do to stop pain. So focusing on your breath when something, when it is uncomfortable, when you're feeling like, this is boring, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Why am I thinking about this? Focus on your breathing. If that's all you get out of it, if you've done 20 great big breaths, then you've achieved something. Then you've spent some time, some quiet time, some downtime, just with you and your babe. I think there are lots of little things that you can do without needing someone sitting across from you telling you what to think.
So there's you've given us two great tools of being able to take a moment, and both of them require you just to stop. Yeah. And don't try and do the shopping while you do this, or but
be on your phone,
take a moment just to center yourself is actually quite simple. What you've described is not arduous. It is not a difficult thing to do, but to find a space where you're comfortable and alone, or with your partner, your support person in delivery maybe, or in birth or pregnancy, the person who's travelling this journey with you. And I really like that one, just taking, 20 big, deep breaths, closing your eyes and focusing on that that seems so simple, but that could be very calming on its own. And then the other tool of just stopping and just being present with your baby, which it sounds like, okay, how do I do that? Well, actually, you've just said, just stop, take a moment and take yourself to a space that's calm and quiet, and remove thought. And that
that can be really hard.
Yeah,
for
but you just sort of said, so if you have a thought that comes in, just acknowledge it and let it go.
Yeah.
And then just focus and communicate with your baby, however that might be.
And it doesn't have to be an hour session.
No.
It can be 5 minutes that you've just stopped and You and your babe have just chilled out together.
Yeah.
With no other distractions.
And that can be a really great thing. I mean, you're going to do that after your baby's born anyway, right? You're going to have to play with them, and you're going to have to be with them. And actually, there's a lot more just being with your baby than there is playing, right? After a delivery, after a baby's born, they're just learning to live, and they're taking in the world. Do that with them in pregnancy. I think that's a great lesson that we can do. Yeah. And I suppose in in the space of pregnancy after loss, to know that there is tools that we can access, or pregnancy after trauma, in that subsequent pregnancy after whatever, to be able to connect with your body, your baby and yourself is a really critical and useful thing. So that's obviously what you do through Bump and Mind. Can you, I'm going to ask you this, and you don't have to say yes, but do you think if we turned the lights down, instead of having these bright lights on you, could you take us through a little mini meditation?
Yeah,
do you think would you feel comfortable doing that?
Will you do it?
Yeah, sure, 100%. Yeah. So if we, can we dim these? Yeah, the lights, and then we're just going to do it. So I'll just get myself, I'm going to pretend I'm in a beautiful couch.
Zen spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's watching you.
Yeah. Totally, no one's watching this, but you're going to, so I'll just do it with you. So this is something that if you're listening at home or you're watching, that you can do this, and Jamie's going to take us through now.
Yeah. So I want you to close over your eyes. I want you to roll your eyeballs up as high as they will go. Take a deep breath in. And I want you to relax your eyes, breathe out, and just float down. Float down, Claire. And you can take yourself wherever you need to be, wherever is nice and calming. Let your thoughts go and just listen to my voice. Doing a really great job. And as you're down, floating away, I want you to find that as you breathe in, you feel stronger. And as you breathe out, you relax. You can allow your shoulders to sink down. And you can keep breathing in that strength and control. And breathe out. Relax comfortably and deeply into the chair. And know that wherever you are, whatever you are doing, is right and safe. This is right for you to be in now and safe for you. And you can spend some time thinking about your baby. You can spend some time thinking about life. Whatever you choose, it's right for you. And know that you're doing a great job. Know that you can do this whenever you feel and whenever you think it's safe. And even without my help, but by just closing over the eyes, breathing deeply and relaxing into the chair. And when you're ready, Claire, you can float yourself back up, out of your space, into the here and now. And you can open your eyes, keeping that body deeply relaxed, keeping that mind free, ready to have a great day.
I think that would be a wonderful thing to do every day.
Start your morning off.
Start your morning off. Start your work day off. You've had a moment where the kids are really intense, or you've had a really big meeting. I think that's a wonderful tool. Thank you so much for that. I think that that's a wonderful thing, that a gift to the listeners and viewers.
And it doesn't take much.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's very calming.
My sessions are a lot more in depth.
Yes.
We talk a lot about labour and what you want to get out of it. But something like that, it's not hard. And you can even find little tools like that online that nothing specific, but just keep you kind of calm and relaxed.
Fabulous.
And maybe that's what you need when your mind's going a little bit crazy and you're feeling like this is really overwhelming. Yeah. And I don't know what to do about it. And
And so for those that are listening or watching that may have already had their babies and might be thinking, I really could have used that, and they've had a traumatic birth or they have lost a child, I would urge them to reach out and, and speak with, people like yourself and to go and have a look. And this can be a really useful tool, I would think, to be able to find yourself again and to heal that potential trauma and learn to live with it. Right? I think you said
I've had a few clients
away,
recently who have come to me because their previous baby was a traumatic experience, and they've held that birth trauma for 20 months, 2 years, 5 years. They've just really held on to it, thinking that was horrible, but I'm okay. And now they're having another baby, and they think, I can't do this. And I do think, great, you are doing something about this now that's going to help you for this baby and this experience. But I feel really sad that you didn't do anything 5 years ago when you had that experience. And yes, you weren't pregnant, but you got your beautiful, healthy baby. You got to take your baby home, or, you didn't get to take your baby home. But I feel sad that you didn't think, I deserve something more and I deserve to recover from this. And so, yes, there's definitely,
because I think it's a mental health thing, isn't it? We still are struggling. We still don't understand a lot about our own mental health and understand that we are also important. So I think in those mindful moments and finding those in life is incredibly important. And I think for those that haven't, it's never too late to go and seek, that help or that advice, that guidance. But I think there's also a danger in not dealing with the trauma.
Absolutely.
As well. I think, do you see that, as well, when you're working with somebody, whether it be in a multi-professional setting, really, it could be in any walks of your lives, where you see somebody who hasn't dealt with that trauma and the burden that it carries and the outcome that can occur. I mean, do you know much about that in terms of, if we don't deal with that trauma, how it can, that bottle up inside it is not actually healthy in any way?
I feel like, that's, just for any person, to, whether a health professional or not, to know that that doesn't seem right for your body. Like that amount of stress, the hormones that come with that stress cannot be good for your body.
No.
But I do see it in labour as well. When I've met a woman 5 minutes ago and she may have had a stillbirth the last time, she may have had an emergency cesarean with her healthy baby, but that's still lingering for her. She's not going to labour well. She's not going to do anything right because she is so thinking about that previous experience. And for her, she hasn't dealt with it. Maybe she thought she did, and now suddenly she's back into the labour room, and that's, and I think, I see labour stall, I see women not progress because...
the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's so much that should be done to prepare these women or help these women, whether they choose to have another baby again or not.
And I think also it's, just listening to the way you're talking about those that have who might be, holding on to or harbouring that guilt, that pain, whatever it is that's stalling labour, for example. And it sounds a lot like it's it's fear-induced. What if? And which is totally normal. These are normal thoughts, but how to deal with those thoughts is really important. But also, I think it's really interesting because I hear people say, well, if we have these conversations in pregnancy, we'll worry women. We'll make them fearful. But it sounds like if we actually have these conversations earlier and we communicate without the worry of fear, we're actually passing on that power and giving that informed choice and informed communication so that you can be part of that journey because you deserve to be. So I know that you talk a lot about with your women, all different areas of your profession. What is some of the tools or some of the nice words or ways in which, and I think it was lovely to hear you talk about the anaesthetist who, you said it was just really interesting, his choice of different words made things a lot easier, a lot calmer, a lot, more useful and less, accusatory in the words we use, like even that failure to progress. So what are some of the things that we could do differently in terms of communicating around, stillbirth or dealing with trauma or that every delivery is different, you know, without instilling that fear, but rather empowering. What are some empowering statements that we could pass to people that you use in your practice?
With my hypnotherapy, I use exactly what the hospital will talk about. So I talk about contractions. I don't talk about them as being surges or waves. You know, your midwife will ask you about your contractions. Everyone will talk about that word. And if you're not used to it, if that's not part of your preparation, then it's going to throw you. So I think having real language around, you know, contractions and timing and those kind of things, and that be honest that, yep, they're going to be painful, it's going to hurt, it's going to be hard work, but this is, you know, it's reaching a goal that you really want. And I think just being really honest with women, I don't know about certain phrases or anything like that I think, but, you know, talking about a stillbirth baby because of monitoring movements and being really conscious about your baby, I think it's so important to use real language and talk to these women and not be dismissive of things because you're worried you'll offend someone. And yeah, I don't know if there's certain things that I'd particularly say, but
use real words.
Yeah, be really honest that women that they need to monitor their movements because it's a really vital part of their baby's health. And you know, you wouldn't ignore something that was part of your health because you don't want to get her upset or scare her. You know, that's a really disappointing part of our care that maybe women do, you know, midwives do dismiss because you know, she's a really happy, positive person and you don't want to put her down and you know, say, well, if your baby's not moving enough or your baby's movements have changed or you're not taking care of yourself, then something may happen that, you know, is not ideal and not an ideal outcome. But yeah, being really honest about it. And I think that is part of empowering women when their care provider says, these things may happen and that's a risk of pregnancy, that's a risk of having a baby.
I think so that's great advice. Just be real, be honest. Don't try and sugarcoat something. It sounds like, you know, that placation is something we need to remove, you know, in our daily life and also particularly in the pregnancy space. I think, you know, don't assume that somebody knows and also don't assume that they can't handle the information, you know, and don't make a choice for someone without them being informed. So what do you want to, like, top 3 takeaways from today? I mean, there was heaps we've talked about, but, you know, in terms of you personally and professionally, I mean, that is you. You know, wholly looking at the things that you think, you know, that every expectant family needs to know. What are the 3 top takeaways that you think you want to offer them?
So I think use your pregnancy to be smart about your care and your baby's care. So spend your 10 months, your 40 weeks of using, you know, the still aware daily activities that you talk about, that connecting with your baby, monitoring your movements, all those wonderful things. Research, you know, look into everything, and if you don't understand something, ask someone. There are so many people that will talk to you and help you, and if they don't, find someone else. You know, those, I think that's so important, to just use your time to find the answers that you need to know. And if it's not the answer you wanted to hear, then be aware that it's not going to be everything is, you know, great and happy, but find out why, and maybe there's an alternative to why, you know, you're feeling like this, or why, what you can control, things you can control. I just hate it when women come in and they've got no idea what's going to happen. And they're really...
Be informed.
Yes, be informed and educated. And when you are informed and educated, you are a woman with power, and you will come away with an experience that you love regardless of what happens. So I think that would be my biggest one. Is
amazing.
Use your time wisely.
Fabulous. So, you know, connect with yourself, connect with your body, you know, communicate, have conversations, live your best life, it sounds like. This is, I feel like, despite how we started this chat in terms of all the things you've got on, that's a great lesson in ways to find balance in a busy life.
Yeah.
I think we can all take some really good stuff away from our chat today. So thank you so much for being with us, Jamie.
Thanks,
and
Kay.
I might, be sure to pop on the bottom of the podcast, as well as the web series, some of those tools that you mentioned.
Perfect.
So that people can find them easily and not, go searching Dr. Google to find the tools that you recommend.
Yeah.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And thank you everyone for joining us today. We look forward to you coming along and listening or watching the Be Still Be Aware series again. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to you joining us again next time. Remember, it's never too early to have a conversation, but it really can be too late. If you'd like to know more about Still Aware, the charity that's bringing you this series, head to stillaware.org.